Pisces, welcome to your January 2020 tarot reading. It's Raina here. So I've created a new spread for the new decade, but I think right now I'm going to change a few of the positions because the way that I laid them out, it was a little bit awkward for my particular table. So, but it's going to be a little bit slightly different spread that I normally do. Okay, I'm going to put this. I'm glad I'm getting different cards for a change. I was getting some of the same cards over and over again. Okay. This is the outcome card, and it's stuck. I'm trying to do this top card. Wow, do you have a great reading? Spread, Pisces. This is wonderful because, first of all, you have 3 major arcana cards. I only picked 6 altogether, so that's pretty, significant in terms of starting the year with a bang, with a lot of meaningful change in your life. The first card represents your life right now, and this is the Fool card. So that feeling of fresh starts, but not just like, okay, starting a new decade, starting a whole new life in some cases where you're just starting from scratch, zero. And like if, let's say this is related to career, going into an entirely different career, maybe living in an entirely different place, an entirely different country, an entirely different state of the union, entirely different province, whatever it is in your neck of the woods. And this kind of change, which we don't always have, sometimes we have very kind of minor change, but this kind of change is very profound, and I think it really stimulates us. I think it's really good for us, actually. What brought you to this moment? The 5 of Pentacles. This is a card of lack consciousness. This is a card of unemployment. So for some of you, let's see what the eclipse is. Yeah, that could be affecting, I don't want to speculate too much on that because it's going to differ for some people. But, just eclipses for all of us signal herald change. So that may have been something that occurred even like a month ago, where you found yourself on the unemployment line and you realized it's not going to be just about getting a new job. Like, you see the writing on the wall. Sometimes it can be, I'm just thinking about being in the United States, where if there's a certain type of industry and you say, you know what, this is too unstable, I'm going to move to a different state and I'm going to just start from scratch. Or getting a divorce, something that has made you feel like you're limited in some way, and you want to just like start with a clean slate and maybe get away from somebody who has been problematic in your life. The 5 of Pentacles is coming from a fear-based mentality that says there's not enough, and things along those lines. And so that can make people think, oh my God, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And sometimes maybe it's overreaction, but I think that you might have felt like you needed a reboot of some sort. And what you can expect in January. The 3 of Cups, this is such a wonderful card. I would expect this more in December than January, because this is celebration. Perhaps you're even reuniting with friends. We have another card here, which can be connected to childhood and those types of situation. So if you have some kind of, like if you've gone back to your roots and, contacting friends that you used to know way back when, that could be what's going on. And it's giving you that sense of buoyancy. It's picking up your spirits, and you just feel a lot better about life than you did maybe before. And that can be a situation where another person, in this case, this would be like more than one, I would say. So if you had like a group of girlfriends that were from, I was going to say from the hood, but, from your hometown, or maybe even from college days, that you are reconnecting with them, or simply anybody in your current life. It doesn't mean that you're going to relocate necessarily, but getting back in touch with people that support you. You might have gotten involved with somebody who kind of tried to keep you from your friends, and now you're kind of calling them up, and again, this can be like a celebration where you're saying, I'm finally free. I'm maybe even retirement for some people. And with the Five of Pentacles, it might have been a situation where you realized that you had this kind of fear-based mentality around money. You were eligible to retire, but you were afraid to, and you just decided, you know what, I don't want to be doing what I'm doing, and I want that freedom. Maybe, I have to downsize. Maybe I have to make some adjustments, but that's okay. Because the Fool card, it's like your itinerary is completely open, and you're not being limited in that sense. What crosses you is the Death card. This can indicate, in some cases, that there was a death of a spouse or somebody significant that maybe has made it so that you've had to start all over again. Or again, a divorce, or losing a job, some kind of a transition. Now, the reason it's in the challenge position is because perhaps you still haven't absorbed it completely, especially if it was something that was a little bit unexpected and you are dealing with the aftermath of it. You might be feeling a little bit like, I'm not sure that this was something that should have happened. And I would just say that if something happened, believe that it was meant to be. It may not have felt that way. It might have felt even like, in some cases, that you were treated unfairly, if this was like a workplace thing, or, even in a relationship, that you were not respected, and you kind of you might feel like there's a lack of resolution, a lack of accountability, lack of closure. And when people say, I'm looking for closure, I'm looking for this, that's kind of something to shy away from, because it can be more of a refusal to move on. And I think that's what the Death card is really about, is accepting that life is about transitions and not trying to cling to what is now over. Advice is, Advice is the Moon card. This is a card that is associated with Pisces. This is about tuning into your intuitive side of life. It can be using creativity as therapy, and simply tuning into yourself at a deep level, checking in with yourself, self-inquiry, so that you can, if you're having a hard time accepting a loss or accepting a change, that you honor that you say, boy, I'm really having a hard time with this. If you're feeling anxious, are you feeling confused? This is a card of actual can be a card of confusion in some cases. If you're feeling that, that's okay. Don't try to pretend to be other than you are. Don't succumb to escapism. This card can be the card of illusion and escapism in the form of addiction. This is a card of addiction, and don't use substances to try and make you feel better. Allow yourself. Don't think that you always have to feel great, because that to me is one of the biggest fallacies of life, is the idea that we have to feel great 24/7. If you don't feel good, say, wow, I don't feel good. I'm going to sit here and not feel good and see what happens. And if you take that feeling to the ends of the earth, you will find that it doesn't really have any substance to it. It's just it's like a fleeting thought. It's a feeling. Our feelings are not permanent. But if somebody has this knee-jerk reaction that, oh my God, I'm having a negative thought, how can I get rid of that? That's resistance. That's something to be avoided. The reason that Pisces gets caught up in this is because your ruler Neptune is about idealism. And idealism in life means I always have to be, happy, a happy, shiny person. I can't ever be feeling sad. And it's not that, the funny thing is that sometimes Pisces is very emotional because you're a water sign. So it's not like you're, incapable of that. But there might be a part of you that tries to hide it because you're concerned about other people. You don't want other people to feel bad. And you're very sensitive to other people's needs. But it's important to honor yourself. If you're going through a transition in life, don't fight it. Feel whatever comes up, allow it to pass without judgment. It will get better if you don't resist it. If you resist it, it takes twice as long. It's just like, I just came off of a terrible cold that lasted, from Thanksgiving, up until my birthday, for like about 2 weeks. And I don't take anything anymore. I find that that's resistance, taking something to stop the runny nose or, whatever, to lower the fever. No, I let it do its thing. And sometimes it's very intense. There's a lot of purification going on. That's what it's all about. That's what those symptoms are. It's a healing crisis. So that's what you have to, look at this as, a healing crisis. But if you try to stop the healing crisis, then all of that grief and sadness, it has nowhere to go. It's going to be, kept inside of you. So you want to just allow it to flow when it does. The outcome is the Six of Cups. If this is, and when I do outcome cards, it doesn't mean anything about in the next month necessarily. I mean, this could be eventual outcome if you are conscious about your life, that you might meet your soulmate. This is a soulmate card. This card is connected to Cancer. It could be, it's funny because this is where the lunar eclipse is in January in Cancer, your 5th house of love. So it might be realizing that an old friend is a lover, is that you've always been in love with this person. So especially if you're touching, what's the phrase, going back to your roots, going back to the past. Now, with the Fool card, it feels like you're moving forward, but it could be that is an event that is creating that sense of forward movement, but that you're also at the same time going back into those childhood days when life was simpler, when when everything wasn't so convoluted, and there was more of an innocence, a purity. And so kind of like touching upon these two worlds, if you will. You actually had a full moon in the fourth house of home and family, which really does, and this was back at the beginning of, December 12th, actually. And this may have shone some light, shined, on your childhood. You might have had some kind of revelation even about something that was true for you that you never really kind of acknowledged, and now you can connect the dots, perhaps. Okay, that's what I have for you, Pisces. I hope that you receive something from this, and if you're looking for kind of like guidance for the year ahead, I do have 2020 transit readings, but even better, I think, is a combination with your natal chart interpretation, if I haven't worked with you before. But anyway, the link to my website, rainamoonAstrology.com, is below. Take care. Bye.